Hello, and welcome to Overcome a Mental Health Podcast. I'm your host, Travis White. This is a place for you to share your mental health stories. I'm very excited for tonight's guest. I'm speaking with Dean Taylor. Dean is a passionate mentor and speaker dedicated to empowering seasoned career fathers to discover their purpose and develop simple daily success habits. Dean, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Travis. It's an honor, really, to be here, to be a part of such a great podcast with, I think, an important focus and mission to help people with struggling with some challenge with mental health. It's such an important topic. So I'm really grateful to be here today with you.
Well, I appreciate you being on, and without wasting any time, I'm just going to hand the microphone over to you and let you share your journey.
Well, thank you. Thinking about this and that question a little bit, I think probably for most people, the journey often starts in somewhere in our early childhood. We have experiences that impact us a lot. And so one of the things that when I was probably 5, maybe 6, probably 6 years old, we were living in New Mexico, and I had a swing set in my backyard, and I would get on my swing set and I would start swinging and I would sing. And the higher I would swing, the louder I would start singing. And I would be singing my favorite country songs and just had this vision that I was going to be the next Glenn Campbell singing Rhinestone Cowboy. I just envisioned myself as being this great singer. And one day after I had got off the swing set, I walked into the back door of our house. My mom had been watching me out the back window. And she made a comment that I'm sure she would never remember, and she's since passed away. But just kind of with a little chuckle in her voice, and she wasn't a singer, and she just made a comment. She said, "Hey, you sing just like I do. You can't carry a tune in a bucket." And that comment, even though it was just made in jest and lightheartedly, it just impacted me because I thought, "What? I'm not a singer. What? I don't sing well. No, no." And so it was the first time in my life I really remember kind of starting to doubt a bit about what I could do. And then I got into grade school, and I've worn glasses my whole life. And often kids get teased when they get glasses and 4 eyes and all those kinds of things. But I had a classmate who took it, I think, to a much higher level. I don't know why. I don't know why she singled me out. It was a girl in my class. But every day we'd go out to recess and she would find me and she would just kick me in the groin like every day. And I was just so perplexed. I thought, I don't know what to do about this. And I did nothing because I thought my parents had told me, well, you never mean to girls. You don't hit girls. You don't. So I never stuck up for myself. And being called 4 eyes and having this happen every day and kind of getting made fun of, I began to really just sort of retreat into myself and think I wasn't that good. There was something wrong. I think just probably like by my natural nature, I was a bit quiet, but I definitely became even more quiet, even so much so that one day my teacher came up to me in class and she said, "When did you get here?" And I'm like, "I've been here all day." She'd counted me absent because I was so quiet. I was not interacting. I just was in class. And so I think that was kind of when I look back on life. And I was smaller. I was born small. I think I was born prematurely. My mom didn't ever really say that, but I weighed about 4 pounds, 4 ounces. And just some stories my mom told me about what the kind of the care I received in the hospital. And I'm a former NICU nurse. I worked in the newborn ICU for about 7 years. And I started piecing together. I thought, Mom, I think I was born prematurely. You just didn't really know what was going on. So I was kind of small, and I think I got teased quite a bit for that. I had an older brother and a cousin that would tease me and pick on me a bit, and I had a bit of a bad temper, so I would get pretty angry at times, and I think that would spur them on to tease me more because they wanted to see how angry they could get me. And so I think those early childhood experiences, I just sort of started developing this belief about who I was and was I good enough? Am I not this or that? And just being small, and so uh, that I think that was the beginning of some of those beliefs that I carried on into my teenage years. And I determined that when we moved, my family moved from moved from New Mexico to Oklahoma, beginning of my seventh grade year. And that was really challenging, being a quiet, shy person, going into a junior high. It's a very awkward stage of life for a lot of people. And I didn't know anyone. Everyone kind of had known each other through elementary school. So here I was, new school, no friends, first day of school. And I kept pulling inward. I just kept pulling more and more inward, and we kind of get made fun of a bit for that in junior high, even. And finally, in my eighth grade year, I thought I'm going to change this, and I tried out for the basketball team, and I made the basketball team, and some things changed a bit in terms of some friends because I was on the team, and so I kind of started feeling like I had made it, I guess. And it's just kind of funny how a lot of those limiting beliefs about yourself they last with you throughout childhood, and even they kind of stick with you for into your even adult life. And I think we just start piling them on, and we start playing, and it almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that this is who we are. Uh, and it was last year I went to a training. Some people may have heard of it. It's called Be You. It's about discovering really who you are and going. And so I worked through a lot of those issues that I had carried with me throughout a lot of my life. And it was when I began to discover and feel connected back to that early childhood, the early Dean prior to that experience on the swing set, and really feeling that I had great value. I had a story to tell. I had people I could influence. I had experience in my life that was valuable and that could help benefit people. And so I've spent a lot of my change that I have gone through in the last. That was one part of that journey. I mean, I've worked on developing myself for the last, I think, really intentionally for the last several years. But that BU experience is really a very impactful moment and experience, and helping me to break down some of those, and actually see where some of those beliefs came from.
Yes, it's amazing to me. You mentioned something that I want to kind of touch base on here, how much power one simple statement has over you throughout all of your life. It's like, and sometimes we don't, in the moment, we don't realize like what that statement even means or what those words even mean until we actually have the time to think about it. It's like, oh, that was hurtful. I didn't realize it then, and I didn't realize that the trauma it caused, but now I do.
Right. Yeah. And the going back to the teasing and becoming angry. I mean, I would get so wound up. I would get so angry at being teased that I mean, I did some things that I'm not proud of that. And I think back, well, I knew I could have. Well, I went after my brother with a hatchet once because I was so upset because of the teasing. And 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 it was that experience when, well, that one, and another time when I got really angry and I chased my cousin down. Uh, we were playing water balloon fights, and he stuck the hose up my nose and sprayed it, and I got really angry with that, and I chased him down and I pushed him into a rose bush. So there are a few experiences I had where with my anger just overtook me, and I mean, sometimes when I would finally calm down, I would have a headache because I'd been so angry and upset. And when my mom found out about those experiences, and my dad was this man that I looked up to because my dad was so patient and so kind and so loving. And when my mom told him these things that I had done, just the look of disappointment on his face just crushed me. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to change something here. I was pretty young. I was probably about 10 or 11 years old at that point. But that I do remember distinctly feeling like, okay, I'm going to, if I don't control my anger, I could really hurt someone someday. And I could see the disappointment on my dad. And that's not the way my dad was. And I loved my dad, and I looked up to him, and I wanted to be like my dad. And so I thought, start figuring out how to change that. I think that was part of my withdrawing and turning inwards. I just thought it was a way for me to control it. I thought if I'm inside here and inside me and I'm not, then people can't, like, I couldn't hurt people. And I just sort of put a shell around myself and started to protect my feelings. And I think that's kind of part of the way I dealt with that.
Yeah, I have that problem too. It's like, oh, if I keep my mouth shut, like I'm not going to cause any problems. And I've also been known to personally, like I've been on the side of being teased, and I've been also the one that has teased people. So I've been on both sides of it. Like I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. But
Yeah.
when I would get teased, like sometimes I wouldn't realize I was being teased. I thought it was like just friends joking around, but sometimes I'd take it too far. But then I would get mad, but I'd store it internally, and I would do pretty much what you've been saying is I would just explode. There's a couple of times with like roommates, I pushed them into walls and that type of stuff. And looking back, I feel like, at that moment I felt like it was okay to do, but now that I've like thought about it over the last several years, I'm like, no, like doing that type of stuff is never okay. What what types of things have you had to do over the years to kind of overcome that and, to help you out?
Yeah, I think that, like I mentioned, the turning point or beginning of the turning point for me was when my uh with that experience with my dad and wanting to not hurt him, because I felt like it hurt him, and I didn't want to hurt my dad in that way. And so I my family had not been. Well, I'm a person of faith and Christian background, and so my family had not really been active in attending church or church at all growing up, but they started to about that age when I had that experience with my dad, and that was a turning. That was also a change for me as I began to see being more involved in our church meetings was helpful for me, and doing things and turning. I turned to God for help. Was one of the things that I did. Was I needed some help to control that. And it's funny. I told my kids this story about how angry I would get, and they're so surprised by it because they're like, "That is not you." And that's true. It's not me now. It hasn't been me for a long, long time. And so I really attribute my change to those early experiences with my dad, beginning to see myself differently. I think church helped me see more of the value in myself. I believe that we get to value myself more, and I think that helped me as well. And it's something I had to work on. I mean, uh, I knew that I didn't like the feeling I had after being angry. I mean, I think that was also a big factor. Oh gosh, I did not like. I felt so, the headache. And having those feelings, I felt that I just didn't like how I felt, and so I was like, I just have to change it. And so I just worked on. I was determined to not allow and I realized that people don't make me angry. I just allow myself when I start taking responsibility for me, and that's applied to so many other areas of my life. Is that everything I'm responsible for me 100% of the time.
That's a good way to put it. I like how you worded that, being responsible for me.
Yeah,
It makes it make more sense, like in my mind, because it's like, no, like you're allowing yourself to be angry.
yeah. No one made me that way. I allowed myself to be that way, and I allowed myself to react. And it wasn't something that I overcame immediately. It was obviously stuff I worked on over the years. And I think by the time I was in my early 20s, I had worked through and understood how to control my thoughts and my emotions and my feelings and respond differently.
So what you mentioned this a little bit, a couple minutes ago, that you held stuff in internally and you kind of kept to yourself. When you started feeling like that, did you notice this change right away, or is it something that, just like that took some time over the years for you to realize exactly what you were doing?
I think it took me some time to realize. I don't think I didn't realize right away, or especially early in my life as a young person. Uh, but I think looking back now, I realized that that was kind of a coping mechanism I was utilizing to I think protect myself, and I think kind of keep myself from getting in trouble.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And what are some of the tools and methods that you have used to overcome these feelings of emotional suppression and like all the other feelings you were?
Yeah, I've always, and as I've gotten, I would say I've always wanted to be a good person, and I always wanted to do good. And when I say that, I wanted to be the best person I could be. And as I got into my early 20s, and I always wanted to try to improve myself. And I come from a family, no one in my family ever, not that this is uh, for everyone, I'm just saying my family, they didn't, no one ever graduated from college. And I did begin noticing kind of my later teen years. I had friends whose parents had gone to school, and I noticed that there was a bit of a difference in their family and their lives. And so I thought, I want that. And so I determined that I was gonna improve myself. I was gonna change that. So I did go to school, and that was a big milestone for me. So I've always had this desire to improve and become the best version of that I could be of myself, and that's carried on to my throughout my life. And it was really, I was maybe 2.5 years ago that I read a book. Maybe you've heard of it, called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And I found the book. I've always liked getting up in the morning. It's been a part of. I just like the morning time. I love the quietness of the morning. And I read the book. When I saw the title of the book, I thought, oh, this is interesting. And so I read it. I started to implement a few of the what's called the savers. Savers is an acronym for silence, affirmation, visualization, reading, exercising, and scribing or journaling. So I thought, oh, I'll take a couple of these things and I'll start to do them. And I began to even I noticed this shift in how I felt about my day, the confidence that I felt going throughout my day. I thought, wow, if I'm feeling better after a week and a half just doing a couple of these things, what if I started doing all of these things? What if I started being really intentional about each of those areas and doing each of those things? And so I began that practice and began doing them every day. And since I started that, I haven't missed a day. This morning was my day 814 days in a row of doing doing the morning routine in the morning. And not saying that to boast or anyway, but it's just been it's become who I am. It's become this identity of this is the way I show up for myself, the way I show up for my family, the way I show up for people I work with every day, because it has changed. It's changed. I've changed, and a lot of in so many ways because of this practice, and it's evolved over the number of time I've done it and how I approach my day. But that's been one thing that's been, and I get asked often the question, well, how long do you spend doing this morning routine? Are you spending hours? I know probably spend a half hour on most mornings, but just that little bit of time and investing in myself every day has been so life changing and impactful. And my level of confidence, my level of being able to, just the way I see the world, the way I see myself, the value that I see in myself is completely, um,
I think that's really cool. And I would say go ahead and boast about it. You found that's my opinion. Not that my opinion matters that much, but I'd say boast about it. You found something that works for you and it's changed you. And I think boast about it and share that with others. I think it's really cool that you found something that works for you because I feel like people can search and search and search, and it takes a while to find that one thing. And I think it's different for everybody. And
absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's really great that you found something.
And that's the thing I love about the routine is I'm kind of a very logical, linear thinking person, and so I think that's where I kind of got into this. Sometimes, well, if I don't do it perfectly, then I shouldn't do it at all. But that's one of the things I've really learned about from doing the morning routine is that some days I've got more time, and sometimes I don't have time to do everything the way I would quote unquote think would be the right way of doing it. And I've just learned that it's not about that. It's about being intentional and it's about progressing and this, because I think you can get, and I found myself, it's easy for me to slip into a mindset of, well, if I can't do it perfectly, I'm not going to do it at all. That was something I've learned through this process is that it's okay to not be perfect.
Yeah, that reminds me of an experience that I have like almost every single night. I have three young kids, ages 5, 3, and 1. So bedtime is not always a fun thing.
Yeah.
And I have certain expectations when it comes to bed. And like if it doesn't go according to plan, like it really, really affects me. I have a hard time overcoming it. And so for the longest time, like I just thought, okay, it has to be this way. It can't change. And my therapist finally, like I brought it up one time and he said, you need to lower those expectations. Those kids are really young. They don't understand. And as soon as you do that, you'll see a change. So I did it, took his advice and moved forward with it. And it's like, why wasn't I doing this before? Why didn't I think of something so simple? And not saying that the hard times don't come up, but when they do and I feel overwhelmed, I walk out of the room, reset for 30 seconds, and walk back in, and I'm have a clear head.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. It's so good. And it doesn't take, and doesn't take a lot, right? It just takes some little bit of intentionality and recognition and being aware. I think that was another thing that I realized that the more I can't really be, I can't grow myself if I'm not aware of where I need to grow. And so becoming aware of those, and we all have blind spots and we need help seeing those. And so, yeah, I love that. What a good story. Our kids are all grown and out of the house, but we have some grandkids now. And it's so interesting. It's one of the things I love about being a grandparent is being able to observe now with my life experience children and seeing them. One of the things I mentioned before we got on started recording the show about being on vacation last week, and we were with our granddaughter, and I was just observing her playing, and I made this comment to my wife and our daughter who were there in the room at the same time too. I thought it just struck me so powerfully that she's not thinking about what happened yesterday. She's not thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow. She is just so present. She's just concerned about the now and she's living now. And it just struck me so powerfully. I thought she's just so, and she's so happy and she's not worried about all these other things that we think we do something yesterday and we let it hang with us and we think about it today and well, I wish I hadn't done that thing or I've got this thing tomorrow and I'm worried about well tomorrow hasn't happened yet and I can't change the past but what I can only change and I can affect is right now. That's what was going through my mind. I thought she's just living right now and she's so happy.
It's so true. And having young kids myself, I've never really thought of it that way. But it's if I think about it now, like I can hear them outside the room here. It's like that's exactly what they're doing. And it's like, and I wish I could have that mindset as well as like young kids do. And I also see like a lot of resilience in my kids as well. And I'm like, I hope that I can do my duty as a parent and not mess you up so much that you don't have that.
Absolutely. Well, it's so funny you mentioned that. I mentioned the BU training that I did a little over a year ago was you know, coming out of that, I thought, oh my goodness, and now with looking back and that experience, I thought, man, I really messed my kids up and they're all fine. They're doing well, but I see the impact of, or, you know, what was modeled for me is a lot of what I model for my own kids as a parent, and some of the things get passed down, and that's what I love about growing and being and changing is that. And I mentioned going to school. That was a real shift in my family, and it was a shift for kind of how. So so my point is being that as we change and as we grow, as we take on things, we can break cycles, we can break and improve and make things better. We don't have to be stuck in the same situation forever. We always have the power to change that, and we can do that if we're aware and intentional about our growth.
Yeah, very true. I agree 100%. And sometimes I feel like for myself, it's like I feel like I get stuck in this mold of who I'm supposed to be. So, kind of making that change and forcing myself to change is sometimes a difficult step to make.
Yeah, it's not easy. All the change is not easy, and I think our brains are wired in a way to say we got to kind of protect us. And when we start to step into something different than what we're familiar with, we think, "Oh, this feels scary, and so I probably it must be wrong, and so I shouldn't be doing this thing." But to make those big jumps and changes and leaps in our lives, it's going to feel unfamiliar. Because it's unfamiliar doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that it's not familiar, and so it's okay. We can make changes, and the more we do it, the more comfortable we feel, and the more we realize this is a new way of thinking, new way of being.
That's so true. And I want to change kind of direction here just because
Yeah.
I'm a little bit scatterbrained right now, just because I'm thinking of all the different things you've said. You mentioned in when I introduced you, I mentioned that you empower career fathers to discover their purpose. So think of with all your experience, how do you help men who don't even realize that they are emotionally disconnected?
Wow, that is a powerful question. Uh, I would. This is my thought on this, and this is what's helped me with my purpose is spending some time really thinking about what are the things that I value and what are the values that I have. And because one thing I've definitely learned is that if what I desire isn't aligned with what I value, my values are always going to win out. And so that thing that I desire, I'll never do it. But when I align my desires and my values and my strengths, and I figured I got those things in alignment. So to me, it was getting aligned with what I really value and what I desire and what are my real strengths. Then my purpose became clear to me. I didn't feel like I was. We often so much hear we got to grind, we got to grind through it, we got to grind. And what I'm discovering is that as I align my values and my desires and strengths together, then I began to create this flow in my life. And we hear that often in sports that this person's in the flow, and whatever they're doing just seems to be happening effortlessly. And they can't miss a shot. They can't miss whatever they're doing, whatever sport, they're just excelling. And I think that can happen for us in life when we get that alignment, then we're not always in this mode of I'm trying to force this thing to happen, but I'm I'm in a flow state where everything's now in alignment and things start to become easy. I think often we have this belief that I've had the belief that everything I get, I have to really earn it. I have to work hard for it. I'm not saying that work isn't important and we don't take action for things, but I'm learning more and more as I align those things that people come into my life, situations happen that they feel like they start to happen. Like I'm attracting these things into my life versus trying to force it to happen, if that makes sense. And so I I I truly believe that it really takes spending some time getting clear on what you truly value and making sure that what you value aligns and your desires and values align, and also that what are your strengths. we're so often taught that we need to overcome our weaknesses. And I just feel like I do so much better when I'm able to excel and achieve more and make greater leaps in my life and progress when I'm really focusing on and becoming and really taking that strength that I have and making it better and really improving that.
I love it. I love that answer. And that's kind of off, but that's one of my least favorite questions in an interview, job interview, is how do you overcome your weaknesses? It's like you don't really like to me. You don't really focus on your weaknesses. You don't really overcome them because obviously, like it's a weakness for a purpose, and use your strengths.
Yeah. And in real life, in a real world situation, I mean, we often, when we collaborate, and this is one of the things I have definitely learned over the last several years is that as I collaborate and not try to always be in a state of competition. I mean, people. Nothing that I'm looking at here around me, nothing was created by just one person. And so it was people coming together and taking strength and an area that someone is weak in, someone else is strong in. As you collaborate, those weaknesses get overcome. So why am I going to focus on what I'm weak at? I mean, that's kind of been my thought.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And you mentioned another thing too. Well, you more implied it, I should say, but it's basically living life with a purpose, finding your purpose, finding what you value, and going with it. I just wanted to say that I absolutely love that.
It's been so helpful for me to have clarity, and the reason I say having a clear purpose and why it's been so helpful for me is the analogy that I think about is if I have, because we all carry these phones around, but what good is the map or the GPS system on the phone if I don't put in a destination? I'm not going to get anywhere. I mean, it's not going to take me anywhere. So I feel like the same thing in life is when I have purpose and I know where I want to go, then the the GPS becomes useful. I kind of mentioned before, being a person of faith, and I believe that then now God can direct me. Or if you don't believe in God, it's universe or infinite intelligence, whatever it is. You got direction, and you say, "This is where I'm going." Now you know, and things can come into your life that's going to move you in the direction that you want to go. Without it, it's like, well, where do you want to go?
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer that God, or as you put it, the universe, brings people and things and places into your life to push you forward.
Absolutely, yeah. So agree with that.
And what does, sorry, I'm thinking about how to phrase this. Give me 1 second
Sure,
here.
sure. Yeah, no problem.
What is like, oh, I had it right there. What does resilience mean to you? I'm going to take a different route than I was anticipating.
What does resilience mean to me? I would say resilience is the ability to face adversity and not kind of get knocked off course, of being able to stick with the kind of thinking about the purpose we were just talking about. And I think that's another reason why purpose is so helpful and valuable, because when you're I recognize in my own life when I'm clear on where I'm headed, then when adversity strikes or when things come up that push against me a bit, I realize that is really helping me to get ultimately to where I want to go. Like I'm never there's never any growth without resistance, and so having clear purpose helps me to be resilient and staying on course and not being thrown about and thrown off course because something came up that was trying to there was a struggle, I guess, and just being able to and I think to even be able to see is this thing that's pulling at me this way or trying to knock me off course. Uh, that's it's not where I don't get burdened down by thinking, oh, I've made a bad decision and where I'm headed is wrong. Like I know I'm really clear on what I'm going for and what I want to achieve. So those things just don't uh, they don't bother me. They don't pull me the way they used to. I felt to me that's being resilient, is being able to say, I know where I'm headed, and when I meet a stiff wind or stiff resistance, I'm able to push through it. And I one of the things that I've heard this analogy about buffaloes and cows and how buffaloes and cows face how they deal with storms. Cows will typically, if when a storm's coming, they'll start running away from the storm, thinking that's going to get them away out of it. And the storm catches up, and they're just longer in the storm. The storm catches up, and they're just longer. But when a buffalo sees a storm coming, they just head directly into it, and they get through it, and they're in it for a lot less time because they face it and they push through it, and they're out of it quicker.
Yeah, really cool. It's interesting to like think about because I can think of the storm and I can think of I've seen cows like running away from it.
Yeah, it's true. It's this, yeah,
Now I remember what I was going to say since I asked that last question.
yeah,
I lost my train of thought there, but so this one kind of builds off of that. I remember where I was going. So as a man that has built up pretty much what I'd say this is this resilient mindset, was there anything like any type of belief or something, yeah, any type of belief that you thought was once true that you had to kind of rewire your brain to think differently
yes,
to build that mindset?
yes. And I'll share with you. I think well, I shouldn't say I think because I know the thing that has been the greatest shift for me is, and this has been part of and I've incorporated this into my daily routine, is practicing gratitude. And when I think about what I used to think about gratitude, is I thought it was thinking thankful thoughts and recognizing, and I think that's definitely part of it. And I think it's a first step. But truly being grateful has taken on a much deeper meaning for me now as I work through a practice of writing down what I'm thankful for. I write down like three things I'm thankful for, and then why am I thankful for them? What are the feelings of appreciation that I feel for those things? And then deciding on one thing that I'm going to do that day to act in a generous way. I think that's another a level of gratitude that sometimes gets overlooked, and it doesn't have to be a big thing. I mean, sometimes it's just for me, as I'm pausing in the morning and reflecting. Is there anyone that's come to my mind? And if there is, and I've done this several times, is just I don't know why this person came to my mind, but I just send them a quick text message, or I write them a handwritten a note, and just said, I'm going to take this to that person. And I've taken them the note. Instead of just giving it to them, I actually read the note to them and told them why I'm grateful for them or what they mean to me or whatever I felt to write. Sometimes it's just been being present. I'm just going to show up and be completely generous with my time. And realize that there's always enough time. If someone asks me for something that wasn't on my schedule, I'm just going to go do it because there's always enough. And so the I talk about gratitude in that way because it's my mindset has shifted from a viewing the world from a lens of not enough, I'm not enough, not enough time, not enough resources, not enough love, to there's always enough. I always have enough to give, enough. I can give a tip, I can give my time, I can give of my love, I can give of my spirituality, whatever, and there's always going to be enough.
it. That's great. What's one myth about healing you wish more men knew was not true?
One thing about healing that it's a myth that is not true.
Yeah.
I, I, I mean, for me, I felt like for a lot of my life that I had to be this role of, and I'm still working on it. I'm not perfect. My wife called me out on this, just even recently. I've got to play this role as being tough, that I can't be open and vulnerable. I shared something with her the other night about an experience I had a year ago. It was just a really tough thing that I was going through, and I just never shared it with her. And she said to me, why'd you never open up about that? Why'd you never tell me about that? Like, if I had known you were experiencing that, and I know, I don't know why I didn't. So I think, and just even sharing, even though it happened a little over a year ago, just sharing that with her, and now we're having it, it just helped. It just strengthened our connection, and it helped me to even feel more complete and whole from that experience. And so I guess what I'm saying is, I think it's a myth to say that men can't be open and they can't be vulnerable and you can't show emotion. I think sometimes that's a role that I think I've taken on, as, and maybe it came from my dad always used to say, you can't hurt steel. If he cut his hand, his hand with a hammer, he's like, you can't hurt steel. Like, I know that had to hurt, and it's okay. It's okay to show that you actually feel pain and you hurt.
Yeah. That's great. It's just like, I feel like more vulnerable I've become, it's almost like the better things go for me in life because I'm willing to open up and talk about it now. Whereas before I just hid behind a wall.
Yeah, yep, I agree. And I just one other quick thing I would say. What part of me that's been able to allow me to express that and is some mornings I will write a lot more than others. Most mornings I don't, but there have been mornings where I just felt that I try to follow that intuitive thought where it's just like I just have a need to just get all this out of my mind. And so me handwriting in a journal, physically handwriting, not typing on a keyboard or typing on a phone. I keep my journal in an actual notebook and I just write, and that writing slows my mind down because I process so much more, and I get so much more out of my kind of out of my head and onto paper, so to speak, and it just helps me process everything.
And doing that type of stuff, like kind of like journaling and writing stuff down, it's something that I'm trying to get a little bit better at. Like I go into times where I do really well. Like I'll do it for a week and then I don't do it for a week, then I do it for a week. So I was like, I just
Yeah,
need to set a reminder and just do it at the same time every night.
yeah, yeah.
So I just have a couple more questions here for you. Um, so if you could, so thinking back to the times you were bullied, the comment that I think, believe it was your mom said to you about singing, um, knowing what you know now, like what would you say if you could go back in time? What would you say to your childhood self, or what advice would you give yourself?
I would definitely give advice to myself to say that life is going to work out way better than you think, and that if you'll just, I'd say, being the real and the true me. As I think back on that child uh, who had confidence and uh, had a vision for what I wanted to do, what he was going to do, I would just say, um, there's definitely challenges ahead, and things people will say and do things that intentional or even not intentional, but being true to myself and realizing I am I guess I would sum it up this way, that I'm always enough. And I would tell you, you're always, and you always will be enough. And you have everything you need to succeed in life. And you don't need to be any more than what you are.
So I 100% agree. This one is a very, like, I always say that it's a very generalized question. I love to hear the response I get from my guests. So I ask it to everybody. What do you believe is the biggest stigma when it comes to mental health?
Wow. Well, I think about this when, as a nurse, I mean, my background, I had nursing background, a healthcare background. If someone's heart is not functioning, or their kidney or their liver or whatever organ, we take care of it. We talk about it, and we say seek out treatment, and we seek out help. And for some reason, our brain, which is this super awesome, amazing, complex organ inside our heads, when it's not when it's in need of help, we often just think that it's wrong to talk about it, or there's something. Um, it's just, yeah, that we can't talk about it, and if someone needs mental health services or some sort of help, that's it should be done in that it's secretive, or that is wrong, or you can't be open about it. And to me, I think that's one of the, and I love that, I think in society we're becoming more open about that, and not we're more open about talking about it, and realizing that, hey, if there's a challenge there, it's totally okay. And so I think one of the biggest stigmas, I guess, to answer your question, was just that you can't talk about it, or it shouldn't be talked about. It should be, it's embarrassing, or that it should be done in secret, or whatever.
I agree. That's a huge one. I feel like too many people hide from their feelings because of how they think others are going to feel about them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm gonna be. People are not gonna want to be friends with me. They're gonna not gonna want to be around me because I've got this challenge.
And little do people know that there's that person is most likely going through something as well.
Yeah. Yes. So true. Yeah.
Uh, have two more just kind of follow up questions. Where can people find you?
I have a account on Instagram, so people can find me at Dean Taylor Official. Speaking of social media, I know there's a lot of mental health. There's been a lot of things in the news, and rightly so, about some of the effects of social media. But I've tried to take the approach of, if I can just share good things and share positive, uplifting things, and that are helpful to people, that's a good use of it. And so I try to share things like that, lessons from my life, things that are helpful that I think could be uplifting or inspiring to other people. Try to share goodness. And so that's how I use my Instagram account. And I have a website, deantaylorofficial.com, so people can find out more about me there as well.
Perfect. And I will make sure all those links get put in the show notes as well when I release this. And last question, we covered a lot of topics here. However, I understand that sometimes things get left out unintentionally. So, is there anything that you'd like to bring up that we did not discuss?
I think we covered a lot of ground, and I think this has been. I've loved our conversation. I guess if I had one parting thought, I share with people, and I say this a little bit because of my stage in life, and a belief that I had, or you had for a while, and that I think sometimes when we're going through life and rough experiences, that the dreams kind of get beaten out of us, and we start saying, well, I just got to be realistic. I can't go do that thing because what would people think of me? Or so I I say that it's it's never too early to start dreaming again, but it's always too early to stop.
I absolutely love that. brings a different perspective because I've never, because it's like, I feel like, there's times in my life where I'm like, you know what, my dreams in life just feel like they're crushed. But hearing that, it's like, no, you can open them back up again. It's up to you to do it.
Right. Yeah, and I've just determined that I don't want to be at the end of my life and have the regret of not doing the thing that I felt compelled to do.
Very well said. Dean, thank you so much for coming on
Yeah,
the show. I agree with you. I think this has been a great conversation.
I've loved it. Yeah, this has been so good. I'm so grateful that you would have me on your show with such an important message for people. So thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah. And thank you for taking the time out of your busy day and meeting with me. Uh, and to all the listeners out there, thank you so much for listening. Best thing you could do for us right now is to subscribe to our show, follow us, share all of our stuff. Just get the name of our podcast out there. That's the best thing you can do. And thanks again for listening. Until next time.